FNAF Sister Location's custom night is probably the best custom night in the whole series. It's also one of the hardest. Today, I'm going to go over my strategy for the max mode, 1020 mode, as well as my experience with the challenge. Let's get into it. Like many max modes in the official series, 1020 mode involves a main cycle that is repeated throughout the night. The cycle involves 3 phases: the pre-camera phase, and post-camera phase. The pre-camera phase is the simplest phase of the cycle. It involves waiting while only dealing with the constant threats. The 4 constant threats are Funtime Freddy, Ballora, Bidybab, and Lolbit. I'll link a video in the description if you want a more in-depth analysis of the AI, but I'll just go over what you need to know to beat the night here. Many of the specific details are unnecessary for this purpose. Funtime Freddy moves between the 2 closets on either side of the building. You need to keep track of which side he is on, which I do by keeping my mouse on the side of this monitor that he's on. When he says, you have to close the door on the side that he's on. If he says, you have to close the door opposite to the side he's on. He's honestly not a very difficult character in my opinion. Ballora will move between sides of the building as well. You can hear her music as she gets closer. When her music is at its loudest, you have to close the door on the side she's on until she moves away from it. She's a little bit harder to learn, but eventually your ears get trained to only hear her loudest music volume. Bidybab will move closer to your top vent with a sound cue at each movement. She has 3 sound cues.
I don't want to play hide and seek. I'm going to find a way inside.
The vent squeak sound is the only one we care about though. When that plays, you have to close the top vent until she hits it. She's definitely one of the harder characters because her vent sound effect is very easy to miss while using the electric shocks. Lolbit will slowly appear on the monitors in front of you, and if you don't type LOL on your keyboard quick enough, she'll disable your cameras and doors until you type it. She can be quite challenging when paired with Yendo and Bonnet. The pre-camera phase doesn't really require any set of movements, just dealing with these animatronics. Next up is the camera phase. There are 2 types of camera phases throughout the night. The first and easier one only consists of checking on Funtime Foxy and Cam 7. This is camera phase 1. If Funtime Foxy is gone, you have to close the right door until you hear this knocking sound. He drains your power by 1% every time he hits the door. Checking Funtime Foxy's camera serves to both check his progress and stall him. The second camera phase is a little bit more complicated. It involves both checking Funtime Foxy and shocking the mini arenas and Electrobab. They drain your oxygen and power respectively. They show up every 10 seconds and they need to be dealt with immediately. The mini arenas always appear in Cam 6 while Electrobab appears in either Cam 3 or 4. He is always on the side opposite of Funtime Freddy. Electrobab is the higher priority. If you miss the mini arenas and they get desynced, wait until Electrobab shows up again and then shock both of them to sync them up again. You should always end both camera phases on Cam 7, where Funtime Foxy resides. In order to stall Funtime Foxy for as long as possible, you should check the cameras about every 5 seconds, alternating between the 2 types of camera phases. Basically, at the start of the night, you wait roughly 5 seconds, and then enter camera phase 1. After that, you wait until the mini arenas and Electrobab show up, and then enter camera phase 2. You repeat this for the whole night. After exiting the cameras, you enter the post-camera phase. Bonnet and Yendo have chances to spawn every time you flip down the cameras. Before closing the cameras, you need to check the borders of the monitor for Yendo. If he is there, close the monitor and immediately open it and close it again. After this, you must deal with Bonnet and Lolbit. Yendo should always be your highest priority, followed by Bonnet and finally Lolbit. You deal with Bonnet by simply clicking her nose before she goes off screen and kills you. In summary, at the start of the night, you start the pre-camera phase where you just sit in the office and deal with the constant threats. You wait for about 5 seconds and then enter the cameras and do camera phase 1 where you simply check Funtime Foxy's progress. After that, check for Yendo and enter the post-camera phase where you deal with Yendo, Bonnet, and Lolbit. After dealing with them, you're back in the pre-camera phase. Wait until you start seeing warning signs on your power and oxygen and then immediately enter camera phase 2. You shock the mini arenas, then Electrobab, who always spawns on the opposite side of Freddy, and then go back to Funtime Foxy's camera. Do the post-camera phase again and repeat this for the rest of the night. A little tip for Lolbit: if you see him appearing before you enter the cameras, make sure to deal with him before entering the camera phase. Otherwise, he can cause a lot of issues if Yendo decides to show up. Overall, the strategy is relatively simple, but with so many moving parts, it can take a while to be able to keep track of everything. With that said, I'm going to cover my experience with the night. My first day with attempts was not amazing. There was a lot to keep track of, and I was not very good at it. By the way, I decided to use a live split timer, but I'm only using it to keep track of where I am in the night. I'm not using it for the strategy. I was fine with the camera cycle and the post-camera cycle on their own, but when Ballora, Funtime Freddy, and Bidybab showed up, I would lose track of what I was doing. I was still trying to get familiar with the camera cycle, so if more than one other threat came up during the camera cycle, I would mess up the cycle and die. Eventually though, I did start to get more comfortable with the cycle. I honestly didn't really have much trouble with Funtime Freddy. Keeping track of him is pretty easy, even with having to move the mouse for a Bonnet in the cameras. His sound cues were also loud and lasted last a long time, making it easy to hear over the electric shocks. I did struggle with Ballora a little bit, but my brain was eventually trained to only hear her music when it was loud enough to have to close the door. Bidybab was annoying because her audio cues are so hard to hear over the electric shock sound effect. There was one character that I struggled with a lot more than the others though, Bonnet. Clicking her nose while barely being able to see her was a huge pain. Honestly though, the only reason this is so hard is because of the true hardest character in the night and the absolute worst part of Sister Location, the virtual mouse cursor. This thing is seriously the worst decision Scott ever made in the entire franchise. It sucks so bad. None of my muscle memory carries over to this game because this mouse pointer controls nothing like my mouse. I struggled to click anything in this stupid night. This mouse is the only reason Bonnet is so hard, and it single-handedly brings this max mode down from a 10 out of 10 in enjoyment to an 8 out of 10 for me. I found Sister Location 1020 mode to be quite fun, but this stupid virtual mouse is so frustratingly awful that any death to Bonnet just feels unfair and dumb. On top of the virtual mouse cursor, the game also just crashed a lot. I never had issues with it in the past when I used to casually play Custom Night, but on my new computer, the game is just so unstable for some reason. I did get a 5 AM run within the first 40 minutes of playing, which was a fluke from 2 AM. This fluke gave me a confidence boost and made me feel like I would beat it at any moment. Unfortunately, this was false confidence as I didn't get any good runs for the rest of the day. I knew this would happen too. Since my FNAF 2 video, I played a lot of Geometry Dash, beating Cataclysm as my first extreme demon and Bloodbath as my second and current hardest. I've had a fluke like this before in Bloodbath where I pretty much immediately went from like 25% best to a 77% best, shortly followed by 80%. These flukes got me into the mindset of I'm going to beat this at any moment, which led to so much frustration when I stopped getting any good runs. It's best to treat flukes like this as a one-off. Still be proud of them, but in terms of your overall progress, treat them like they didn't even happen. This is much easier said than done though, and much like with the Bloodbath flukes, this fluke caused me to get extremely frustrated. The best run I got after this was one single 3 AM run, and I eventually took a break for the rest of the day. On the second day, I was doing much better against Bonnet. I got a 4 AM run pretty quickly, dying to Ballora. I died to her multiple times today in 4 runs. I don't know why I struggled with her so much. Just 20 minutes into this session though, I got this run. Yes! Oh. I did it. Oh, yay. 1020 mode, let's go. Overall, this took me a little under an hour and a half to beat and was my new hardest max mode. Granted, while this was my first time playing with this strategy, I did used to practice this in the past without a proper strategy. I think it was pretty fun to play, but the virtual mouse and crashing definitely made it worse than it could have been. I later played Golden Freddy mode in Sister Location Super Custom Night, and it fixed all of the issues I had with the original Custom Night. It was so much fun. It goes to show that the virtual mouse pointer is really the only thing holding this max mode back. As for my max modes tier list, I'm putting this on the same tier as FNAF 2, but above it. I think they're relatively close in difficulty, but Sister Location 1020 mode is definitely harder in my opinion. It's also a lot more fun since you're not relying on a stopwatch. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe as it'll really help me out. Let me know what max modes you want to see me do next, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.